If you're preparing for the FE Electrical and Computer exam, you would probably agree that the FE Electrical and Computer exam preparation is not a walk in the park. And if you're an internationally trained engineer, then there are certain aspects of this exam which are going to be even more difficult for you. In this video, we're going to go over some tips and recommendations that can help internationally trained engineers to effectively prepare for the FE Electrical and Computer exam. But before we dive into the content, I would really appreciate if you could like this video, click the bell icon and the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. My first tip for internationally trained engineers who are trying to pursue P license in the US and would like to take the FE Electrical and Computer exam is to get their credential evaluation process started. It is a crucial step in getting you on the right track for PE licensure. So the chances are that if you have graduated outside of US, your degree is probably not ABET accredited. There are very few universities outside of US that are EAC ABET accredited. So maybe go to the EAC ABET accreditation website and just verify it for yourself. Or the better suggestion is to actually go to NCEES credential evaluation and open your account and get the process started. Because even if your degree is ABET accredited, chances are that your local state board is going to get the verification, require the verification from NCEES credential evaluation. Now there are a couple of other options that you can try for credentials evaluation, but my strong recommendation is to go with NCEES, because once you get your NCEES credential evaluation done, you can have it stored at NCEES record, and then in future if you ever want to move from one state to another state, all of that data, all of those evaluations are in one place, and it makes your life so much easier. An NCEES credential evaluation process is going to take a little bit of time because you're required to get the degrees, your transcripts from your school. So if your school has digital means of transmission of information, and if the application process for requiring or retrieving the transcripts is pretty simple and straightforward, then maybe it won't take you a lot of time. But some of my students really struggle with it because they have to have somebody locally go to the university back home and request the transcripts, and there are a lot of hoops and loops that you might have to jump through. Although for most of the states, FE Electrical and Computer exam registration, or FE exam registration for that reason, doesn't really require you to get the credential evaluation done. A lot of states require that at the PE level. But my recommendation is to get this process started as soon as possible, so that once you get started with FE exam preparation and hopefully pass it in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, then by the time that is taken care of, your credential evaluation would be in place as well, and you can dive right into the PE Power exam preparation if that's the stream that you want to take your PE exam in. My second tip for internationally trained engineers is to get themselves familiarized with a computer-based testing format. FE Electrical and Computer exam back in 2014 transitioned from a pen-paper-based exam to a computer-based exam. It is slightly different. There are certain features actually in the CBT format that are very helpful. Now students who enroll in my on-demand FE Electrical and Computer exam preparation course get a first-hand experience by going through the mini exams, by going through the quizzes, by going through the computer simulated practice exams to gain that experience with the CBT format. It allows you to go back and forth between the questions. You can flag the questions, and there's also a timer that helps you identify how you're doing, not only in terms of your accuracy or correctness with respect to your solutions, but also from a timing standpoint. Time is of huge essence when it comes to FE Electrical and Computer exam. So let's say you walk into the exam without even having a clue about the CBT format, and you end up spending 5 to 10 minutes on the exam just figuring out different features. That is going to be a huge setback, because you really get 3 minutes per question on average, and you want to be making use of that time effectively and efficiently, as you want to be very comfortable, and it should be very smooth for you. Your focus, your attention, all of your energies should be on solving the problems and getting the exam done comfortably, rather than trying to learn something on the go. So my recommendation is get exposure to the CBT format and become very comfortable with it. My tip number 3 is to learn how to manage your time on the exam. Now, regardless of whether you studied in the US or outside of the US, 3 minutes per question for FE exam is actually a tough ask, regardless of whether you are a recent graduate, you've been in the industry for a while, if you are taking such a time-sensitive exam, you cannot afford to waste time. And what I recommend to students in order to save time is to first of all have a deep understanding of the underlying concepts. Because if you're competent in a certain knowledge area, you can literally just look at the problem, zone in, and everything is going to work out in your brain, in your mind very quickly, and you will be proficient with also solving the problems. So I guess the most obvious one is to develop competency, deep competency in areas of the exam specification. Now in my on-demand FE Electrical and Computer Exam Preparation course, I have over 150 lectures that cover the entire specification, ranging from math to software and everything in between. The lectures will help you understand the theoretical concepts. There are problems that are solved within the lectures. There are quizzes at the end of the lecture, and at the end of every section you get a mini exam. And at the end of the course, you have a computer simulated practice exam. And during the entire process, you can send me emails, ask me questions, and I also offer a free one-on-one Zoom call with students whenever they're enrolled, so that I can get them started with their exam preparation game plan. So remember, in my opinion, the most effective way of improving your time on the exam is to have sound understanding of the concept and a lot of practice with the type of problems. The second recommendation on the same point, which is improving your timing on the exam, is to develop familiarity with NCEES FE Reference Handbook. NCEES FE Reference Handbook is the only resource that will be allowed to you in the exam. It is a closed book exam, but you're given the reference manual. It contains equations, it contains formulas, it contains diagrams, circuits, some definitions. So you don't really have to memorize a lot of things. In fact, in my opinion, you shouldn't spend a lot of time memorizing anything at all. You should spend time in understanding the concepts, in getting the practice, in knowing the systematic and efficient way of solving different problems. So please make sure you spend enough time to go through NCEES FE Reference Handbook. So when it comes to NCEES FE Reference Handbook, within my course, I cross-reference between the handbook so that when students are going through the problems, going through the concepts, they can have the handbook open on their computer and they can actually work through it. And you can download the NCEES FE Reference Handbook for free directly from NCEES website by creating an account at mynces.org. The third thing that can help you immensely on the exam in order to improve your time is calculator. It is one of the most overlooked resource because the scientific calculators that are approved by NCEES, I'll include a link in the video, can actually do a lot more than simple addition, multiplication, square root, exponents, and so on and so forth. You can use them for solving matrices. If you try and solve a matrix inverse by hand, it will definitely take you more than 3 minutes. It definitely takes me more than 3 minutes. But if you know how to use your calculator, you can actually do the matrix inverse calculation pretty easily, probably under a minute. So you've saved yourself 2 minutes on that question. In my course, I actually have tutorials on calculators as well for some of the key features, for example, going from rectangular to polar form in the complex numbers, base changes in digital systems, and so on and so forth. You can actually give yourself a lot of extra time and also reduce the chances of making errors. So again, time management is key on FE Electrical and Computer exam, and it is particularly important for you if you haven't really taken extremely time-sensitive exams. There are a lot of standardized tests in the US which students have to take, for example, GMATs, GRE, SATs, and so on and so forth. So a lot of students who are going through the process within the US are sort of familiar with that and definitely familiar with the computer-based testing. So with computer-based testing and combined with the time constraint, it is something that you would have to quickly get up to speed with in order to do well on the exam. And my fourth and final tip for you is to have confidence in yourself. There are lots of great institutes outside of US as well, great universities within the US. The key to passing the FE Electrical and Computer exam, regardless of how smart you are or how great an institute you graduated from, is hard work. You still need to go through all the specification items, and that's true for you, and that is true for anybody who graduated from the US. Even if you graduated top of your class, going through the 17 exam specification topics is going to take time. It's going to take effort, and it's going to take commitment on your part. So as an internationally trained engineer, I would say that you have to have even more confidence in your ability and ideally make use of effective exam preparation to help you streamline your exam preparation process and make the journey a little bit more easier, because that way you will be able to get started with exam preparation and stay on track, and most importantly, get it done in the first attempt. In summary, If you're an internationally trained engineer, then you definitely have some additional roadblocks to overcome as compared to somebody who has graduated from the US. But the key over here to remember is that the PE license holds even greater value for you because it can be a great equalizer in the job market. It can really help propel your career in the long run. So my recommendation to you is not to get distracted or frustrated or disappointed by some of these minor obstacles and stay committed to getting the PE license for yourself because it is one of the best things that you can do for your career in the long run.